Hi there guys, welcome to another episode of Tech Inquisition's Roasted G. Well actually, this is not going to be me roasting, or you guys roasting me so much as me roasting somebody else. And yes, for last couple of weeks we've had a doozy floating around on the internet from the people you'd least expect it. Yes, the Verge. Now, I think most of you have heard about this or seen it, but yeah, I just had to have a look myself and actually give my 2 cents worth. But that said, let's start clean and just have a look at what's on. So, the Verge posted an article about building a PC. If I show you guys, this is the article in question on their website, how to build a custom PC for gaming and editing and coding. But also attached to this was a video on YouTube, which was also hosted by Stefan Etienne. Now, they've actually put a disclaimer here that the video has a lot of errors, and also that it tweets that people who like video or YouTubers or tech tubers aren't real journalists. Well, journalists that we supposedly have to trust in terms of providing us information regarding technology, and who don't have a freaking clue about building PCs, do things like these, well, then you have to question, do they actually know what the hell they're doing? But yes, thankfully I've tracked down the original video, which was attached to this document or this website discussing how they built a PC. So I'm not going to go into this article as yet. I'll come back to it for reference purposes later on. But we will go to the video itself, which was re-hosted by somebody else, but I'm going to be watching this now. So, let us see what's what.
So a few years ago, TC, our managing editor, built a gaming desktop, but it's kind of out of date, and it's definitely not going to hold up for Battlefield 5. So let's build a new one.
Okay.
You can build a gaming desktop for around $1,000, but I want to go all out, so I spent around $2,000. PC like this is going to be able to play most games at all tier settings. So what do you need to build a desktop? Well, of course, first you need a table. Preferably not
Number one here. Duh. But I understand. Understandably, there is people out there that would most likely do this on a metallic table who don't know better. So I'll give them this one. But usually, electronics and metal don't mix.
metal. If it's going to be metal, have an anti-static working surface layered on top of it, a thermal paste applicator, an Allen wrench, some tweezers to tighten up the wires.
Whoa. Tweezers? Whoa. That's zip ties. Everybody say this with me. Zip tie. There's a definition of it. Plastic strip. Threaded. Tighten. Doesn't come loose. And he calls it tweezers. Righty then. I won't go into that, but yeah, let's leave it at that. Tweezers. Okay. Alright, so doofus moment number 1. Zip ties for tweezers.
A Swiss Army knife, which hopefully has a Phillips head screwdriver in it.
What? A Swiss Army knife? You gotta be freaking kidding me. A Swiss Army knife with hopefully a Phillips head screwdriver. I like to say, don't take a knife to a gunfight, but seriously guys, get the right tools. If you're going to be working with screwdrivers, make sure you've got the bloody right screwdriver. Phillips for Phillips heads, and a plain just flathead for normal screws. Really? A multi-tool or a Blaze Swiss Army knife for screwing in things. Stop screwing around. Let's just continue this.
And last but not least, an anti-static bracelet, which is to protect you and the parts. These are the parts you're going to need, but more importantly...
Okay, you just put on an anti-static bracelet attached to what? There's no anti-static mat. There's no connector to it to basically ground you to anything. Are you doing something for cancer or something, or what? Is it just a fashion statement? Because it looks like it. You look like you definitely need a fashion statement. Right there. Etienne. You really do look like you need a fashion statement. And that's not it. But hey, let's go on.
Before we get there, we need to understand what these parts are doing and how they interact with one another. Parts.
Okay, let's get
We
back
have a
to
lot
it.
of boxes and a lot of PC parts, so it's best you unbox them, isolate the parts that
Okay.
you really need, place items into the case, and make sure that they all fit, and then
Test
start
fitting is
working.
good.
And now we're really going to start building by adding the motherboard in. Some notes about installing motherboards: they're really delicate, you should be really careful with them.
No shit.
And screw in with confidence, but also don't screw in too hard, otherwise you could crack the board.
Say it with me again. Stop screwing around. Screws are threaded and they will basically go wrist tight, not screw in with confidence. Okay, cool. So this is what tech journalists do.
I chose Asus's Z370 motherboard for two main reasons. One, it has built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, and also it has support for NVMe SSDs, meaning you can get really fast SSDs that are really easy.
Whoa. Why are you installing the motherboard without installing the components on it to make your life easier? Okay. Really, that's a new mistake. You usually put in your CPU and whatever you want to install on the motherboard without having to fiddle around with things on the motherboard, on its either the box or the anti-static like packaging before putting it inside the case. He's just basically putting a motherboard inside and hope to pray that he's got enough space to work inside the case with the motherboard already installed to install things afterwards. Not a good idea. But hey, let's give him the benefit of the doubt here. But unfortunately, I don't really do benefits of doubt.
Easy to install. Pay close attention to the brace that goes at the back of the computer.
Brace? Again? No, not a brace. Say it with me again. I/O plate. Definition. Freaking on the internet. Fucking learn it. Brace. No, brace for fucking head impact. Oh my goodness. So-called tech publishers or tech journalists that don't know the freaking jargon makes me worry, people. Makes me worried indeed about what the hell are they feeding you. I'm not really a big follower of the Verge. Now I understand. Now I know why, but yeah, I'll leave it at that. Let's just continue with this.
You always have to make sure that you really hammer it in, because there's no screw. It really just has to go outside of the case and clasp.
Oh, it just fits. It snaps in. It's not needed to hammer it in, but anyway.
Onto the frame. And this is very important because otherwise you can't align the motherboard correctly with the holes. We're just going to start installing all 8 screws.
Shit, Sherlock.
So
Worst
next we're going to install
tool
the
for doing
RAM on
this.
the motherboard. I chose Corsair's 16GB Vengeance LED RAM for two main reasons. One, it has LEDs and we do like lights in our gaming desktops.
Yeah.
Secondly, it's pretty fast RAM. It's 2666 megahertz, I believe.
that's stock speeds for that motherboard. That's not fast, that's just standard. I'm sorry, people. This is what you have to deal with on the internet and in publications, and I am so sorry for idiots like these that's around. Unfortunately, they do exist, and they do publish shit like this. For reference purposes, 266 stock standard RAM speed for the Z370 motherboard. You can go higher and you can go faster. That's not fast. That's just stock.
So it's pretty fast, and this motherboard supports
It's not pretty fast. It's stock. Don't.
that speed, which is most important. Open the slots first, and just aligning the stick
You're installing 2 memory DIMMs and you're opening all of them. Why?
with the middle of the strip, not with the end, and just lining that up with the logo. So once you hear that solid clasp and you don't see the gold connectors on the side anymore, that's when you know the RAM is in. Step 3, we're going to install...
Whoa. Are you guys seeing the same thing that I'm seeing? 2 memory modules right next to each other. Dual channel works separated. It's not next to each other, it's separated by 1 DIMM on a Z370 or any of the Z motherboards for Intel. 2 DIMMs with 1 work in pairs, and there's a 1 slot spacing between them. They're basically staggered. That is basically turned dual channel memory into single channel memory now. Just like that. Basically, halving the memory throughput performance right there. There's another bottleneck that a so-called tech press journalist that should know this shit. Guys, I am so sorry. Hello. Okay.
hard drive, or in this case, the NVMe SSD. I chose this format of solid-state drive so that I could input it into the motherboard with...
Input it? Your jargon is funny as fuck, dude. Install hardware. Here, there's the definition. Install. Bugger off. Install. Okay. Let's just go on with this.
Not having to worry about extra wires or putting it in a separate part of the case and just getting really messy. This is from Kingston, and it's 480 gigabytes, so it's not a lot, but you can always upgrade this and swap it out, and it's only held down by 1 screw and the latch, so it's really simple and really straightforward. Speed for gaming is important when it comes to a hard drive. You want files to write quickly and you want games to load quickly, so that's why it's best if you use an SSD. Okay, so step 4, we're going to install the graphics card. I chose PNY's GTX 1080, which is overclocked, and so it's a pretty easy installation. You're just going to find the gold connectors, and you're going to line this bracket with the back end bracket of your PC case. Now, which lane you choose depends entirely on what other parts you're going to put in the system. I'm just going to pick the top one because the SSD is at the bottom and I don't want to cover it. I just think it looks nice.
Wrong again. You choose the slot that provides the most bandwidth to your graphics card. You actually have to plan this before you actually buy the stuff. All the components that you put into your motherboard is how will they sit in each respective PCI slot. Will you have enough space for certain things to be put in together? Like if you've got a 3-slot GPU and you put it in and you need that 3-slot GPU is going to overhang on, say, one of the PCI 1 slots. And you need that for, say, a video capture card or, God forbid, a sound card. You should plan for that and know, okay, you need to either make a plan or get a motherboard that has a PCIe 1 that's further away from the graphics card, which is usually the top one, which is 16x for the biggest bandwidth for your GPU. If you got 2 GPUs, you're even more screwed, because then it's 2 times x, 8x, and then you have to pray to whichever religion or deity you like, that you got a slot somewhere for any other bloody expansion card you want. But just picking whichever, and not no thinking here, no forward thinking, this is not thought through. This is just done. Sad.
Click down. Take your remaining brackets and just put them in the spots that you haven't used. And make sure that you align it with these little insulating pads.
Insulating pads. Another stupid term. Say this with me again, people. Anti-vibration mounting. That's just to make sure it doesn't make a noise when it's in your case. It's not to insulate it. The bloody power supply is insulated by default. Unless there's a loose wire inside, it's not going to short.
So the power supply doesn't short circuit and come into contact with the rest of the system.
You idiot.
So just take it in, slide it in nice and easy until you have a snug fit, and then shift it to the back.
Whoa. You're putting a bloody power supply in with its fan facing inwards. It's gonna suck in hot air. It's gonna be starved for fresh air. Cold, fresh air. Take journalists. Yeah. Take YouTubers on, take journalists. I'm freaking glad about that then. Because if tech journalists make this fucking fuck-ups, then...
And make sure it's right up against the frame. Now, you just take the required screws and you tighten
more screwing.
screw in.
Stop screwing around.
So next step, we're going to install the CPU core. In this case, it's going to go on the top end of the case. And we're just going to have the hose hang out for a little while until we install the processor, which is going to come a little later. Always be sure to try to place it in the system.
Me personally would have actually installed the pump unit most likely on the motherboard before fitting it in, or I would have installed it. Yeah, that's just
first before you install it, because you can see it.
Okay. If you're putting the fans underneath, I can understand putting it now. Usually, for this type of thing, I would prefer to put the fans on top of the radiator to basically use the radiator as a filter for dust and stuff. But okay,
takes up a lot of space.
Yeah.
But in this case, no pun intended, it fits in perfectly. And we're gonna start screwing it in. And there's nothing special about this screwing in process. They're just really long screws.
Whoa. You're taking a long screw that's designed to basically attach a fan to the radiator. Okay.
Is because they go through the entire frame of the cooler. And
no, you're basically just screwing up the radiator. You're possibly also causing a leak. You could damage enough if your radiator is so configured that is close to where a water channel goes. You could possibly nick it and cause a leak in a radiator. Water in the system. Did you not read the fucking manual? RTFM, Etienne.
Take forever. Really. We're installing the CPU, the heart of the computer or the brain, depending on how you look at it. So to do this, we're just going to remove the plastic covering that they put on the motherboard. I'm just going to take this little plastic part out. Just toss that out of here. And now we have an exposed CPU holder, or rather slot, on the motherboard.
Okay.
And we're going to use the CPU applicator. This is a special little part that not everyone may get, but this motherboard that we got from ASUS definitely does have. It's called a CPU installation tool. It makes it really useful if you want to install a Core i7 hexa-core CPU.
Yeah, if you don't know what the hell you're doing.
We've got one, and it's an 8th generation chip, and it's ready to go, and it supports overclocking.
No shit.
So what having this little installer does for you is it's basically a brace that you can apply right to the CPU and light it up with the triangles that you'll see on the bottom left
and
corner.
triangles also on the
And this will make
socket.
it easier for us to apply it to the motherboard, and then apply thermal paste, and then apply a CPU cooler on top. And we're just going to carefully lean it down into the system and make sure that everything lines up, and we're going to clasp down on it, and we'll be good to go.
You didn't even use it.
So
Well,
we're
anyway.
about to apply thermal paste to the CPU.
Okay.
Every CPU cooler actually comes with a bit of thermal paste already neatly applied in a circle around it, but it's
Usually,
usually
yeah.
not enough. It's good, essentially PC building practice to have a little bit extra and layer it on top
No,
of
it's not. If the freaking cooler comes with paste installed, don't bother. And don't mix freaking thermal pastes, because you don't know how they react to each other. And if you're mixing a non-conductive and a conductive thermal paste, you can have extra being flooded out or pushed out while squeezing them together. And what's going to happen? If it's a conductive paste, it's going to short circuit your motherboard. Only add paste if there isn't any on the cooler cold plate. If there is, do not do that. Or other, wipe off the application that's on the cold plate and put on your own if you really want to. But don't do double dipping or double freaking whatever. Oh, no.
CPU.
It's not
The
good
final
practice, people.
portion is to
Whatever
add
he
the
tells you,
CPU
it's
cooler
not.
to the top end of the processor. So you're going to see that there are 4
my
brackets,
God, that
or
looks
rather
like-
like screws
oh.
in here with brackets and holders right here.
No,
And they're going
seriously.
to keep the cooler raised off the processor, but it's also going to be close enough to actually physically come in contact with it, like basically keep it cool. Take thumb screws like this and just screw them on. So now that our internals are done, we're going to put all the panels back on, which is the top glass, side glass, front glass, and of course the back panel where all this fun stuff is happening. So we fully built the PC, everything's put...
Whoa, what? People? I know some people out there do not care about cable management. Understandable. Some people just don't have the time or don't care. But if you've got a case like this that's open, you damn well make the bloody effort to do cable management. Make sure it doesn't look like this freaking Call of Cthulhu freaking montage. Oh my god. If I could, I would slap Etienne virtually via this monitor, but hey. So is life.
Everything's put together, and we got to the post screen.
You got to the post screen. That's a freaking
So
miracle.
what's next? Well, you need a USB flash drive with your Windows installation media on it, and of course a license key. Right now I've got
don't care
Armor
about
3 running at maximum settings, native resolution, which is 1080p HD, and it's running pretty
1080p.
smoothly. Like I'm averaging 70 and 80 FPS, and this is normally like a very intensive game to run, and it's still doing a pretty good job. So right now I'm playing League of Legends. It's one of my favorite games. I'm actually playing against a bot, and I'm distracted, so I'm not actually doing...
This is not really one of those graphic intensive games, so I'm not going to say this is really worth stress testing, but anyway, if you just want to test it, your system is running, by all means, but there's better choices for stress testing and making sure the system is stable.
so well. But otherwise, like, this is pretty much what you would see me do on a gaming computer. Test stuff out, and hopefully have really high frame rates like I am right now.
Yeah.
I'm averaging 120 FPS. And
That's at high frame rates, mate. For the GPU you've got, that's at high frame rates.
that's only because I've actually locked the game.
Locked the game.
to that frame rate because I can get around 300 FPS playing League on maximum settings, which is a little bit absurd, and you don't really...
No, when you're really into PC building and gaming, having high frame rates is not absurd.
that, so I locked it. Building a gaming desktop has been a great experience. I'm able to max out a lot of my favorite titles.
Yeah, if you lock everything.
And I'll be able to play a lot of upcoming titles like Battlefield 5 and Cyberpunk 2077 without worrying too much about the parts I have. When ray tracing GPUs come out, for example, I'll be able to upgrade without having to buy a completely new system. And if I have a problem down the line, I can always just swap out a part and have it serviced rather than losing my whole computer. And of course now we also have a computer to test and benchmark games here at the Verge.
Okay. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is how not to build a PC. And they've got their own little article with all the information, all the pictures of the stuff. And these little pictures say a lot of things. Now you can see here still, yes. Cable management is non-existent. Seriously, this blows my freaking mind. Why you would choose this case and not do the effort of cable management. But hey. Another big obvious issue. Let's look here. Where is this? Where is this? Where is that little nut that is actually supposed to keep the cold plate of the AIO cooler snug on the CPU head spreader? If that isn't being done, it's gonna develop pockets of, like, there's gonna be forming a little air pocket there, and the CPU could overheat in that side of the, of the CPU. You could possibly freaking run into big issues here. That's so wrong. That is not right. I don't know what he did, but that's wrong. You do not leave out something that's so critical. Oh, people, I'm sorry to say, but this idiot, Etienne, cannot build a PC. And The Verge, even though they stick up for him, and the editor went out and said explicitly that tech tubers aren't journalists or technical journalists or whatever, just basically provides you the information you can see. Some of these guys don't have a freaking clue what they're doing. They're telling you a lot of stuff. They're doing a lot of investigation and a lot of research, but they don't know how to practically apply what they researched. There's a reason why people that do real system integration, system builds, do what I do and do it on YouTube or whatever, whichever platform they choose, because they know what the fuck they're doing. If you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know how to do what you're supposed to know what you're doing, let somebody else do it. Somebody that's really experienced with this. Do not make this type of stupid mistake. This is rookie mistakes we're talking about here. And some idiot is going to believe this guy's work and actually do what he's doing. And most likely is going to end up screwing up something. And guess what? I don't know if he's going to be able to, but that guy could possibly sue The Verge for freaking wrongful information. Giving them wrong information on how to do things. This is a so-called how to. No, it isn't. It's a freaking pain in the ass. No, guys, really, I am so not impressed. I can't tell you in words that wouldn't most likely cause everybody's ears to bleed, that about how dumbfounded I am with the amount of mistakes in that video, and also the lack of knowing what the hell you're talking about because you're using wrong jargon in the first you don't use the correct terminology. Why even do this? Just to make yourself a freaking target for videos like this. Verge, you buggered up big time. Hopefully you can redeem yourselves, but I don't think many people are going to hold anything you say in any regards anymore. How can you with this? I seriously don't. I don't trust anything that comes out of these guys. It's just my honest opinion. But anyway, that is me having my 2 cents regarding what the Verge did in terms of PC building. But hopefully you won't take their example as gospel. If you want to do your own PC build, there's other bloody good reference material on YouTube and the web that's much better than this and much more accurate and also a lot safer. So please don't follow these guys. For the love of God, do not do that. Anyway, I'm done here. I've said my say. I'm going to be off. Thanks for watching if you actually made it this far, if you haven't drowned out yet. But anyway, till next one, if you want to leave some comments down below, give me some comments, give me feedback, put in some basically your roasts on me if you want to, or on this video, on this topic, roast away. The next roast video will most likely take that as input, and let's see what happens. Till then, thanks for watching. Consider subscribing or liking this video. Until then, goodbye.